Hello, my name is Hillary McNary. I'm a marriage and family sciences major, minoring in English. I was born and raised in the Appalachian Mountains of West Virginia, and now I live in Utah. I'm a stay-at-home mom with 3 kids, ages 2, 4, and 6. My hobbies are neglecting my house and reading and writing young adult science fiction and fantasy. I don't know how anyone talks about 10 books in under 3 minutes, so let's just jump right in with my favorite children's books. The number 1 spot goes to the only book not in this stack, which is Roald Dahl's Matilda. I love how Dahl created stories that pitted smart children against tyrannical adults. His books are funny and a little twisted, and Matilda was my hero as a kid. I wanted to be her so badly, and that is what made me a voracious reader. I would walk to the library every day after school. I checked out Moby Dick more times than I can count because I wanted to be just like her, but I never made it past the first chapter. I did find a lot of other good books in the process, though. In no particular order now. I loved Bridge to Terabithia by Katherine Paterson for very similar reasons to Matilda. I related a lot to lonely protagonists who felt misunderstood. It's a common thread in a lot of my childhood favorites, like The Westing Game, A Wrinkle in Time, Ender's Game, and so on. Terabithia's main character, Jesse, was especially relatable for me because he lived very close to where I grew up in rural Virginia. The setting was extremely familiar, with a small town mentality where few people seemed interested in deep thought. Jesse doesn't have anyone to connect to until he meets Leslie, and then you see him bloom. I made a friend very much like that at a similar age, so this book felt a little bit like fiction copying reality, but without the sad ending in my case. My version of Leslie is still around, and we still spot book recommendations and read each other's stories all the time. So, I loved Alice in Wonderland as a kid. This book is a non-stop brain bender. Its whole purpose seems to be to make you look at something you've seen 1,000 times before and see it and think about it in a new way. And I love this book for inspiring me to try to think that way. I love C.S. Lewis's Chronicles of Narnia because they're all about taking theological principles and gospel truths and packaging them in a way that inspires excitement and interest for kids. Lewis's books are filled with symbolism and metaphor that teaches children about faith, atonement, resurrection, repentance, mercy, and justice in a way that makes sense. What's not to love about Harry Potter? Rowling's world is filled with fun and creativity. It inspires this sense of wonder, and it's a world you really wish you could live in, and if I could, I would never leave it. The thing that I think makes these books so great is the characters. No matter who you are, I think there's a character in here that you can relate to, and that makes for a very immersive experience. I also love the theme in these books about how we're not meant to fight our battles alone. We all need teachers, mentors, parents, especially mothers, and friends to help us achieve our goals. The Lord of the Rings isn't really a children's series, but I did read it in the 7th grade, the entire series, and it was one of the most significant reads in my young life. So I'm superimposing The Hobbit to stand in for the whole series. The thing I love about these stories is that Tolkien was a veteran of World War I. He understood the trauma of war and violence, so he took a story with all those tropes of heroes and battles and dragons and glorious deeds. But at the end of the day, the thing that determines whether or not good triumphs over evil are hobbits. It's the little, humble people who find joy in good food, good company, birthday parties, and gardening who make the world a good place to live in. Samwise Gamgee is my all-time favorite character, and I love him so much I married a man just like him. Next, the Artemis Fowl series by Owen Colfer. It's such a fun read. I love a good villain, and I especially love a good redemption arc, which these books do well. It starts with an insufferable, arrogant little know-it-all who turns out to be too clever for his own good, and he has to learn how to be a better person and make friends and be part of a team. And the world is just clever and creative. The books are fast-paced and funny and loads of fun. Next is the Sisters Grimm series by Michael Buckley. I love a good fairy tale retelling, and this one has all the fairy tales packed into one. The premise is that all the old fairy tale characters are stuck living in this enchanted little town in New England. I wonder if these books were the inspiration for the TV show Once Upon a Time, but these books are better because there's no pointless drama just to create more episodes. It has a good mystery. It's got a flawed 11-year-old protagonist who creates all her own worst problems with her anger and trust issues. And the romance is hysterical because it's basically just 11-year-olds thinking that the other gender is icky. So they're a blast. And Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones is one of my all-time favorite books. It's a fairy tale setting, but not a fairy tale retelling. It's a very original story, I think. I love the romance in this book because it's not about finding someone who's perfect for you. It's about loving someone even when they're not easy to love, warts and all. And it's also a story about how we're all responsible for our own curses and how we have the power to break them. And the way we do that is in the way we perceive ourselves and how we talk to ourselves. And finally, the number 10 spot on this list was a 12-way tie. So rather than having my darlings hash it out Hunger Games style, I picked a book off my kids' bookshelf. David Biederzicki writes excellent picture books. My favorite is Me and My Dragon, but since I don't own a copy of that one, you get Ace Lacewing Bug Detective. It's a film noir style mystery spoof kind of thing. It's filled with tropes that are typical of the genre from the 1920s, and it's quite punny. The longer you look at the pages, the funnier they get. These are the kind of books that are as much fun for the parents to read as they are for the kids. So that's my top 10. Thank you very much for your time. I'm excited to read some more excellent books and get to know you this semester.